Welcome to the podcast, Let the Prophet Speak. Today we continue our study of the first book of Kings, Melachim Aleph. We are in chapter 1, that's Parak Aleph, Pasuk Lamed Ches, that's verse 38. We just, David instructed his loyal leaders, Tzadok HaKohen, the priest, and Natan Hanavi, the prophet, and Benayahu ben Yehoyada, the military leader, to appoint and anoint Shlomo, Solomon, as king, while Adoniyah and his supporters were having a big celebration, having declared himself the king. But these people now have the permission of David. And David was confident enough that all he had needed to do was tell these leaders to go and anoint Shlomo, and that would be all that's necessary for Shlomo to take over the throne. So, Vayered Tzadok HaKohen v'Natan Hanavi v'Noyahu ben Yehoyada, the people that we just mentioned, they went down to the Gihon spring, v'Akreti v'Aplesi, and the elite king's guard, the Kreti and the Pleti, v'Yarkivu et Shlomo, and they rode Solomon al Pirdat HaMelech David on the mule of the King David, v'Yolicho oto al Gihon, and they brought him down to Gihon, v'Yikach Tzadok HaKohen et Keren HaShemen min ha'ohel, they took the Karen of oil, the horn full of oil from the tent. This is presumably the tent where the ark was kept, the holy special tent, and these symbols of the monarchy, the symbols of leadership, is something that just demonstrates how Shlomo is the real official king, the one who's going through the process as it should be, as opposed to Adoniyah. Vayimshachet Shlomo, and they anointed Solomon, Vayitku b'shofar, and they blew the ram's horn. Another special symbol of leadership, which Adoniyah did not do. Vayomru chol ha'am, and all the nation said, this indicates that the nation was supportive of David's choice, because they were waiting for David's leadership, and here they saw David take this action of leadership, and they called out, Yechi HaMelech Shlomo, may the King Solomon live, Vayalu chol ha'macharav, and the entire nation followed after him. It's inevitably, and this clearly shows that Adoniyah has no hope, because he does not have the backing and the support of the masses. The entire people were so happy to see David take the initiative and pass on the kingdom to he who should be the one who takes over. The people wanted the stability and the unifying leadership of David, which they knew in Solomon they would see a continuation of that leadership. They were blowing, they were playing flutes, and they were really incredibly happy and jubilant. And the land was split because of the noise. In other words, the ground was shaking with happiness and celebration. The people were so happy that the right king, the wise king, was going to take over, as opposed to Adoniyah, the arrogant king. And the people knew what kind of leadership he was going to bring. Vayishma Adoniyahu, and now Adoniyahu heard B'chol HaKruim, and all the people that he invited, Asher Ito, that were with him, those his cronies, V'hem kilu lachol, they could not eat anymore. All their celebrations were over. They stopped to eat. Vayishma Yoav et kol hashofar, and immediately Yoav heard the sound of the shofar blowing. Vayomar, and he said, Madua kol hakirya homa, why is the entire city celebrating? What's all this tumult going on? What is this noise? Odenu midaber, while they were speaking, V'hinei Yonatan ben Aviatar HaKohen ba. Yonatan, who was the son of Eviatar, who was the priest that went along with Adoniyah. Vayomer Adoniyahu bo. And he said, and Adoniyahu said to Yonatan, come, ki ish chayil ata v'tov tivaser, because you are a special great man, and you must have be coming with good news. So he said, Yonasan, come, tell us what's going on, because they're hoping to hear that the celebration is not what they're worried it might be. Vayan Yonatan vayomer Adoniyahu, and Yonatan answered, and he said to Adoniyahu, what do you mean? Avol Adonenu HaMelech David himlich et Shlomo. You're sitting here having a celebration, but our master, the King David, he appointed Solomon as king, right? In other words, and the way he pronounces it, Adonenu, our master, all of our master, Hamelech David, we all have allegiance to David, right? You're not rebelling against him, are you, right? So he has made Shlomo the king. Vayishlach ito Hamelech et Tzadok HaKohen. And the king sent, when he made this, when he made Shlomo the king, when he anointed Shlomo to be the king, he sent with him Tzadok the Kohen, the leadership that was necessary, the priest, Viet Natan Hanavi, and the prophet Natan, Vovnayo ben Yoyada, the military leader, V'akreti v'apleti, and the king's guard, V'yakivu toral Piridat HaMelech, and they rode him on the king's mule, V'yemshechu so Tzadok HaKohen v'Natan HaTavi l'melech b'Gichon, and they anointed him at Gichon, the special spring in Jerusalem, all right? V'yalu misham smeichim, and everyone left that ceremony happy, and they went up to the palace after that. Vatehoma Kiryan, the entire city, the entire capital city, broke out in celebration. Hu hakol asher shematem. That's the sound that you're hearing. The gam, and furthermore, also Yashab Shlomo al Kisei HaMelucha. Solomon has even sat upon the throne itself. So it's pretty obvious that Shlomo is going to be king and not you. And furthermore, the servants of the king, the members of the king's household, came and blessed our master, the king David. Again, he's pointing out that David is our master, that we are all loyal to. Yetev Elohim et Shem Shlomo Mishmecha. They blessed him and said that may God make the name of Shlomo even better, even more than your name, than your reputation. Vigadel et kiso mikisecha. Presumably this is a reference to the blessing that Benayo ben Yoyada gave, which we just read in the last podcast. And may his throne be even greater and more spectacular than your throne. Vayishtachu hamelech ala mishkav. And the king bent humbly and bowed before the people upon his bed. So while he was sitting there, the king accepted that humbly, that wonderful blessing. V'gam kocha amar hamelech. The king even said more further than that. He said, Baruch Adonai Eloi Israel, blessed is God, the Lord of Israel. Asher nasan hayom yoshev hakesi ve'enai ro'os. That he has given this day, has given me the privilege this day, that I can see with my own eyes my succession continuing and see my son Solomon sitting upon the throne. It wasn't just his son, because Adoniyah obviously was also his son, but I see the one who is a worthy successor sitting upon my throne. Vayecherdu. So now what is the response of Adoniyah? They immediately trembled and understood that they were not in good shape now, and they were in serious danger. Vayakumu kol hakurim, and all of those that were invited to this party, which is now a party of rebellion, asher la Adoniyah, all the people that had been invited by Adoniyah, vayelchu ish l'darko, they just scattered, went on their own in an attempt to just get lost in the crowd and hopefully not be taken up and presumably executed by Solomon for being traitors. Adoniyah Yorem ipnei Shlomo, and Adoniyah, who was extremely afraid of Solomon, Vayakom Vayilach, and he got up and he went Vayachazek b'karnot hamizbeach, and he held on to the corners of the altar. Presumably, the altar is a place where no one would dare come to the altar of God and kill someone there. And Adoniyah felt that by holding on to the altar, maybe Shlomo might not kill him if he does that. Maybe that will save him. And it was told to Shlomo as follows: Hine Adoniyah yareh hamelech Shlomo. Adoniyah is afraid of the new king Shlomo. He is holding on to the corner of the altar, saying, Yishav ali chayom. And what is he declaring? He said, I'm going to stay here until today. The Hamelech Shlomo, the King Solomon, swears to me im yomis es avdo b'charv, that he will not kill his servant by the sword. In other words, he's calling himself the servant of Shlomo, and he's asking Shlomo to swear that he won't have him executed. Vayomer Shlomo. And Shlomo said, Im yeh leven chayil, if he will be an honorable, appropriate person, lo yipol misar raso arza, in other words, to be dependent upon his behavior. Shlomo could easily have here done what most kings would do, order his execution, but rather he chose to leave him alive as long as he kept this promise that he will act in an honorable way. I will not even harm a hair on his head. But if he's going to be found doing something bad, something wrong, then he will die. Presumably, what that bad would be was something rebellious, something showing that he wants to act against me as king. And Shlomo sent that message with messengers to the altar. And they took him down from the altar. And he came and he bowed to the king Shlomo. And Shlomo said to him, just go home. I'm not going to do all kinds of grand honors here. I'm saving your life. Go home and behave yourself. So this was Shlomo's first act as king, although he wasn't technically king, but he was kind of king because he was appointed king. But as long as David is still alive, obviously David is still king. But Shlomo was taking up the mantle of leadership here, was officially appointed. The succession is secure, and we see that Shlomo is a forgiving person, a wise person, not a vengeful person. And that is the first act we hear about Shlomo, the first thing that Shlomo actually did that we read about. This ends the first chapter. Thank you so much for studying this chapter together with me. Looking forward to studying the next chapter as we continue on in the with the handing over the power from David to Solomon, which we will read about in the next chapter. And hopefully looking forward to studying the rest of this book of Kings with you. Take care and have a beautiful, wonderful day.